everyone. Welcome to the Journey to DevelopHer Podcast. It's been a while, but I'm back and I'm here today with Mr. Ismail Oyekan out of Cali. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Today we're going to be discussing digital real estate and why it's so important to definitely dive into that market now, especially post-COVID. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your company.
Yeah, so my name is Ishmael. Thanks for having me again. I'm a digital real estate investor, and I'll get into what that means. But first, let me explain what digital real estate is. Digital real estate is no different from, we'll compare it to regular physical real estate, how we understand real estate, in context of this podcast specifically. But instead of owning property that you develop on land, we develop these properties on the internet, right? So you acquire a domain, and domains have different values, right? So the name California.com sold for millions of dollars, and someone acquired that, and they didn't have to do much to it. They didn't have to develop that real estate. But you could take a regular name for a couple of bucks, maybe $12, maybe $40, or whatever the case is. And if you're able to get traffic to it and get the site to rank or make income out of it, the same way you would do with a piece of land with real estate, you're in the realm of digital real estate. So the acquisition of domains or the development of domains, no different from how you would acquire property or develop property, is what we call digital real estate.
Awesome. How long have you been investing in digital real estate? And you're also a real estate developer as well. And we'll probably talk about that a little later.
Good point. Well, actually, subconsciously, without being aware of it, I've been doing it for quite a while. Because, like any other serial entrepreneur, right? Whenever you have an idea, the first step to making it real is typically buying a domain, right? So in the past, I had purchased a few domains, and I was in the habit of always, because I have a marketing background, I was always in the habit of acquiring domains that I felt that I had some sort of marketing value. Mm-hmm. And when it became what I thought was a liability at some point, where it's like, okay, I'm paying all these fees and I'm not utilizing these domains, I started investigating what they were worth. And I was surprised to find out that there was a market out there where people would buy these domains. And I deliberately started purchasing domains and reselling them. I've been doing that for over 10 years. But I wasn't looking at that as anything scalable. But recently, because of the fact that, obviously we're in a pandemic or the whole COVID situation, we're all looking for additional income streams. And I dove, really deep into what is the current landscape of acquiring domains and purchasing them. And it's extended even beyond just domains on the internet. People are actually buying and reselling social media platforms domains, right? Like there was a situation with a name called Daquan that was purchased for $85 million by Warner Music, right? So it's a meme page. So I mean, that's why I say digital real estate, because if you're able to sell a piece of property, whether it's physical or digital, it's an asset, right? And you're able to purchase it, you're able to transfer ownership. That's something that any investor should inquire or be inquisitive about. And, so digital real estate, to me, I would argue this with anyone, has much more of a upside than what we consider real estate currently, because you're able to control the growth, right? With advertising, influencer marketing, and other strategies.
I agree. And I'm definitely not an expert, but especially when songs come out and a new catchy phrase comes about, I find myself searching to see if it's available on Instagram. Wow. And I do I actually tried to get the page myself, and I just hold on to it. I'm like,
that's smart. It costs you nothing to acquire it.
It's free.
And I'll share this with you. There's a website called Swapped, SWAPD.co. It might be .com, but you can check it out. It's a website where people buy and sell domains like that. So there are people that are actively seeking domains that have, 3 letters in them. So if you have a domain that's like XYZ or GTL, whatever, order, there's a value for that. So this digital real estate realm is quite wide. And for me, I think that one of the softest landing way to do it is to actually create an e-commerce business, right? So you want to get something on maybe on a Shopify or an Amazon business or even eBay or Etsy, where you're able to sell a product without even having to touch it, right? Through a strategy called drop shipping, and have a website, a domain, your piece of stake of digital real estate, or maybe if you're thinking bigger, a digital real estate portfolio where you're able to get a return on your advertising spend, build a brand that has a potential of an exit strategy. So if you're deliberate about it, you can own one website or you can own 100 websites, right? You could own, and depending on how you're able to manage them, they could actually become significant income streams. There exist in marketplaces where you can buy websites that have detailed history with third-party verification of transactions and income and revenue and everything else, just like you would buy property and look at the cash flow. But the reality is with digital real estate, the cash flow is significantly much higher. The only difference is in order for you to maintain that cash flow, you have to have either a digital marketing background or have someone in your team or someone you outsource the digital marketing to, right? So that's really what it comes down to.
So I find that very interesting because you mentioned drop shipping, you mentioned branding, marketing. These are all vital to just be a business in general, whether you're looking at it as a digital real estate business or not. You need to brand yourself properly to even to even sell anything online. Myself, and I have to say myself because I'm monetizing myself as a brand, or at least attempting to at this point. But monetizing myself as a brand, what are some pointers would you suggest for someone that's maybe, interested in digital real estate, whether starting an e-commerce business or just building a brand for their company? Or
I would say the fastest way is obviously to be deliberate about it. It's very realistic to say, I would like to make $1,000 off my social media this month. And one of the first steps to doing that is selling your expertise, right? So in your situation, you're a realtor and you're a developer, right? There are people that, no matter how much you've been doing it, haven't done it as much as you've done it, right? And they're willing to learn from you. So you have to figure out a way to package that content in a way where it's digestible and desirable to those people. And then you also have to know who those people are. You have to speak to them so that you can attract them. And you have to utilize the social media networks to build a community that is looking for a like-minded community, right? There are a lot of tools that exist on social media that we tend to ignore, like Facebook groups and, things like that are very, very impactful in terms of, either getting information or looking for visibility, right?
Right.
But if you're trying to monetize your brand, it's a function of, your reach. And to grow your reach, there are a lot of strategies you can use. You can use content marketing. You can use paid media. Facebook, which owns Instagram and, WhatsApp and other platforms, several other platforms, allows you to, reach a targeted audience base, right?
Right.
So even if you're spending $5 a day, you get some sort of ROI from that versus someone who's not spending anything. And so you can imagine how much more ROI you would spend if you say, look, this month I want to spend $2,000. And the goal is to get 10,000 people that, are interested in digital real estate, or even in your case, real estate. Right. You might not get those 10,000 people, but you will get momentum towards getting those people, right? And once you have that email list, you can now communicate with those people directly. And, one of the best ways to do that is a tool that I told you about yesterday called Beacons, right?
Yeah,
yeah, Beacons.ai. It's very similar to Linktree, but it allows your page to have an element of professionalism to it. When people see a link where they can see your other work, I think that gives them more insight into what you do, right? And develops that familiarity, right?
Awesome. So I'll definitely put a link in the description for Beacons so
Okay, cool.
other influencers can sign up as well. So I'm definitely going to switch my page over very
Cool.
soon. All right. So
Okay, good.
I'm the perfect client for you. I'm a realtor.
Okay.
I'm just an entrepreneur altogether, right? I'm building, packaging myself, as you said, as a brand, as a product, and digitally and physically, right? So I'm going to be selling a
Right.
course and or providing a service to be hands-on with individuals. But I also want
Right.
a drop shipping company. How can you help me achieve my goals?
Well, we have a program that we just started, and it's been quite successful. It's actually exceeded my huge expectations. It's called e-commerce partners online, and very self-descriptive. What we do is we look for people that we can partner up with to develop an e-commerce portfolio for them, right? So we have a package that's very affordable where we actually will build an e-commerce store for you, right? So you have a business online, you have a domain online, just like buying a condo in Miami or whatever, right? So you can actually drive traffic to it organically, but we're serious about it because what we do is we drive buying traffic to it. But in order to get traffic to any online site, you have to advertise, right? You have to employ different marketing strategies, right? You have to build up a brand. And for most people that are, you know, either doing real estate or any other work of life, whatever you're doing, for the most part, you won't have the time. No matter how well intended you are that I want to, build an e-commerce industry, you
Right.
typically would not have the time to build one, right? It takes
Very
someone
true.
being dedicated to it. So what we do is we partner up with you to actually manage your portfolio. So it's sort of like a co-ownership, it's a partnership. And
Mhm.
your role in that partnership is to pay for the advertising. And our role is to turn that advertising spend and generate a significant return on it. We use strategies like influencer marketing.
Okay.
You can look it up. Influencer marketing, when done right, can generate about 6.5x per dollar spent, right? We do Facebook ads, we do Google ads, and the components to a successful online store are essentially selling a winning product, right? So we don't necessarily have any emotional attachment to the products. We
Right.
we want to sell products that we can monetize, right? So we sell products. I mean, we don't have to go against our moral values or our ethics, but we can sell products that are in demand. So avoiding the rookie mistake of selling something that, oh, I think I like butterflies and everyone's gonna like butterflies. Like, we don't operate that way. We have a collective of marketing experts that have actually generated over seven figures online. And those are the people that manage these stores. Because our goal is to build a portfolio of profitable stores. Because like real estate, there's an exit strategy. When these stores are well funded with advertising spend, they can generate a significant return. And the good thing about that is there's data that's being collected with third-party verification. It's not speculative. It's done on a platform like Shopify, where
Right.
all the transactions are actually recorded. So if your store is showing revenue of $10,000, for example, I'm just being hypothetical, and you have a net profit of 5,000, that store is an asset. You
Right.
can literally sell that store for the fair market value currently would be about 20 times a monthly net profit. So you can
Mhm.
sell that store for that generates $10,000 in revenue, $5,000 in net. You can sell a store like that for about 100 grand. That's a fair market value, right?
Nice.
So we're giving people an opportunity not just to generate income, but we have a training that's included where we bring experts from the e-com world, people that are really, really, for lack of better words, kicking butts, right, in the online space, right? People that are turning, that are doing phenomenal things. Like this lady named Audrey, she's a single African American mom out of the DMV area. She told a story about how she had a store that she started in November 2016. And what
Mhm.
happened was she was going through a separation with her husband at the time. Her bank account got levied and she had no money. She went to a friend and borrowed $1,000, and the friend said, "Figure it out." She not only told the story, but she showed, because everything online is transparent. She showed
Right.
how she built a store from $1,000 to $137,000 in sales the next month, with $50,000 profit,
Wow.
selling jewelry to baseball moms. Right? She didn't have to buy any inventory because we're doing what's called drop shipping, where
Right.
somebody else would do all the shipping and all the fulfillment, right? And you have a markup. Your job is to make the sale. She didn't have to go get a retail store in the mall, or commit to a first and last deposit, right?
Right.
Everything is done entirely online, and she's built a brand that she could sell for multiple what she earned, right? So to me, it's something that I really think people should catch on to, right? Like, the wealthiest man in the world is Jeff Bezos, and he does
Mhm.
e-commerce. So
Exactly.
there's a huge transfer of wealth with the fact that less people are shopping in the malls. This Black Friday, Walmart is going to be closed, right?
Mm.
So people are still going to shop. So you want to be part of that economy by having your little outlet, or your collective of outlets, or I know some of you guys are big thinkers because you're real estate developers. Some of you guys have either or will build skyscrapers, but just think about it when you're conceptualizing things logically. How can I own a network of profitable online businesses? And if that's something that interests you, we would love for you to be part of e-commerce partners, because we're building a tribe of like-minded people that think like that. And now
Right.
we're taking it to a point where we're looking at acquiring existing businesses. So it's evolving rather rapidly.
That's awesome. So believe it or not, when I got into real estate back in 2011, and in 2012, I started my first e-commerce business right here on Instagram.
Interesting.
Like so the page that I operate from now used to be a e-commerce business for a hair company. Okay. So I don't sell hair anymore, of course, because I'm selling real estate, but I knew what it was then. Like, I knew that it was always smarter to have an e-commerce business. You're not paying for rent, as you said. Literally, there's websites you can get for
Right.
free, or the entry point is $12 to get a website, to get a store,
Right.
just buy the domain. What are some of, realistically, what are some of the other amounts you would recommend? Like,
Costs,
so, yeah, the cost,
correct?
excuse me. So, like for instance, let's say I wanted to start a notebook company, right? How would that work? And how much would it cost to get that started, in your
Okay,
opinion?
so there's a platform, everyone is probably familiar with Amazon, right? Amazon is the marketplace where people can buy and sell goods, right? There are other platforms that are thriving, and I would actually say booming right now. One, Shopify, right? So Shopify is the platform that allows people to build online stores and sell products. And most people use Shopify to do what's called drop shipping, right? So for people that don't understand what drop shipping is, drop shipping just simply means somebody else is doing the shipping of the product and the fulfillment of the order, right? So I'll give an example. If I want to purchase an iPod, right? I go online, I want to buy an iPod, and it tells me, oh, it's $200, and I don't have $200, right? And all of a sudden, it shows me your website, because you're advertising, right? It shows me your website as an option to purchase an iPod, but you're not selling the Apple iPod. You're selling a different version, right? But it works. So I'm an ideal customer for you. Do you see what I'm saying? Now
Yeah,
you offer me this iPod for $59.99, right, with free shipping, and you're telling me it's not the same as the Apple iPod, but it'll work. So
right,
what do I do? I leave my credit card, I make the purchase. You receive that order. You go
right.
to another manufacturer who actually keeps this in stock, and
Mm-hmm.
they fulfill the order. Let's say they're selling it, ship it to me. You tell them I want them to get it quick, right?
Right.
They charge, let's say, $7 for shipping and handling. So let's say altogether it costs $20 for me to get this iPod to you, and you pay me $59. You make $40. If
Right.
you're able to do that 5 times a day, you will make $200. If you're able to do that 50 times a day, you'll make $2,000 in a month. I mean, the only difference between the stores that do 5 orders a day and the ones that do 50 orders a day and $500 a day and $5,000 orders a day is not due to a limitation of people that are in that situation online. It's based on who's advertising the most, who has the most reach, right? So advertising is a key component, right? Once everything is set up, the major expense is advertising. It's the gas. If you have a Ferrari and you have an E-Tank, you can't get to Vegas. I'm in Los Angeles. But anyways, you get my point? You know, the advertising is the gas that keeps the engine going, yeah. But you want to optimize the advertising, and that's why you need a professional to handle it. You know,
you think, so what should be, because I'm a legit company that's about to launch something, right? Whether it's on my page or, so what do I need? Like $2,000? If I want $10,000 a month in sales.
I wouldn't put a number on it. I would, if you wanted $10,000 a month in sales, well, let's look at it backwards. What are we selling, right?
I'm selling, let's say, real estate development courses.
What would be the unit price of the course? Let's say we want to sell. What is the course about? How to be a real estate? What is the course?
With no experience. What is it?
Okay, no.
Yeah,
how to become a real estate?
Yeah. Can you hear me? I feel like with no experience, it's going to be $299 as a kit. It'll tell you how to do it yourself.
I can hear you. So if I was to sell a course on how to become a real estate developer for $299, the first step obviously will be to develop the course itself, right? So you would have to outline everything that you want to share. What is the expertise you're sharing with this audience? And if you feel like it's not adequate to charge $299, who else do you have access to that can input information that they can share with this audience that you want to sell this information to? See, sometimes we need to go outside of ourselves, because if you're going to do anything, it has to be bigger than you. So, you know, if you want to add and then you also have to ask yourself, what is unique about this course and other courses that are out there that offer something similar? You have to study the space, right? So if you find out that there are courses out there that are, you know, you're competitively priced, well, that becomes part of your marketing, you know, ammunition, right? Part of your benefits is this is an affordable course compared to other courses of its type, right? And I would suspect that $299 for that should be competitive. Exactly. So, because the upside is huge, right? So the next step will be, once you've developed the outline of the course, right? And people really, really miss this step. They think that they have to get the big camera crew and spend the big production budget and get the Hollywood. No, a simple iPhone, right? Articulate everything you've outlined into modules, right? Into different chapters. And then you upload it on a platform like Hotmart or, you know, Kajabi or Teachable. And now you have your course posted online. You have a product.
Exactly.
Right? So we need the product, right? I don't want to get into funnels and all that stuff because that's a bit more complicated. Now you have a product. So the conversation, So the next step will be, well, people have to know you have this product. So what I would do next, because we're on a tight budget, right, is I will look for communities where people that are likely to buy my course hang out. What Facebook groups do they go to? Are they on? You know, what pages do they follow? And I would try to have visibility on them without being spammy, correct? Because the whole idea is you want eyeballs to know about this, right? And I would try to do what I'm doing here, like do a lot of cross promotions, like reach out to thought leaders across different spaces that might have an interest in what you're doing, so that they can listen to you speak and perhaps follow you for more information, right? Or at least establish your knowledge of the space, so to speak, right? Let people know what you've done in digital real estate. Now, once you've done that, I would have a budget for advertising, right? So that you can start creating a magnet of leads, right? A flow of leads that are likely to buy the product. And then you know, from there, I would essentially start selling the product. Because once you've developed the product and you're letting people know about the product, in your case, the course, it's a conversion thing at the end of the day, right? So if 100 people can end up on your landing page, the likelihood of you making a sale is much higher than someone who can drive 10 people to that page.
Right.
So if you're able to drive 20,000 to that page in a week, however you do it. But one certain way that you can do it is with paid media, right? One certain way that you can do it is with paid media. Like, there's so many ways for me to get to you in New York right now, right? I can decide to start jogging. I might not make it, right? But the most likely way for me to get to New York is to book a flight. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So if you want to get to the destination of making $10,000, I would say I would budget that you should spend at least $2,500 on advertising.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good.
I would spend, and the $2,500 may not necessarily get you the $10,000 right away, but you should set certain goals. Like, with this $2,500 ad spend, I want to at least have maybe 500 emails of people that I can continuously follow up with.
Right.
I want to use this to create awareness and then some interest and consideration and eventually a purchase, right? You want to put people in that funnel. And so just when you're selling a product like that, it takes familiarity. People have to see you on an average of 5 to 7 times before they actually vote with a credit card. So you have to plan that, right? You have to give yourself that adequate space and time. Yeah. So
right. Yeah. I definitely, trust me, the whole entire quarantine, I went to school online, basically. Like, even now, I'm still learning. I'm in a couple of different communities, and just building even like as simple as a checklist just to get those people where I need them to be, right, in my email list.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. But I do realize that emails are becoming spammy. How do you feel about text messaging? Do you recommend setting up some type of text messaging?
Text messages. Yes, absolutely. I think that's actually a best practice. SMS messaging is very, very effective. Yeah. Like you said, people don't open emails. People are slammed with so much spam. 95% of text messages are opened. 95%. That's pretty high. So as of now, text messaging is probably the most effective way to actually build up a community and stay engaged with people. So in any kind of marketing you do, it's always advised to try to acquire as many people to sign up with their phone numbers, their mobile numbers, so you can text them.
So let's talk about briefly, your experience with physical real estate. And we had this conversation briefly yesterday. I'm sure you prefer digital real estate, no matter what.
Without a question. Like, I dabbled very heavily into real estate when I was much younger. Obviously this is like in the early 2000s, before the first, the last recession. My friends and I would acquire a lot of property, and more than we can handle. And eventually I foreclosed on most of them. It just kind of like put a bad taste in my mouth with real estate. And I've always been someone who's more focused on the online realm, because that's why I have to rebuild my cell phone. But I still see the value in owning, real estate. I own some multifamily units, that have positive cash flow, but those are more long-term investments. But if I could do it all over again, to be honest with you, I would put more of my money into online real estate. And I know that people think that that's crazy, but the truth is, I'm in more control of the outcome. With physical real estate, there are so many factors that, long-term you'll be fine, but in the interim, there's so many factors that you can't control, right? We don't know if the market prices will decrease or increase currently with the economy.
We still don't know.
Right. But with digital real estate, I can control that. I can spend $1,000 on a product, and I can expect a predictable outcome, or at least a range. And for me personally, I prefer that as an investment strategy. And, I just urge everyone to at least diversify a bit. And I think that there's a huge correlation. There's a reason why it's called digital real estate. Because if you owned the coin, and you can Google this, it's DAKUAN, you will see that name sold for $85 million. And then if you research why someone would pay $85 million, it might make some sense to you. Because there's so much traffic going. Well, to me, I think the valuation is a stretch, but I would think that it's based on the fact that they've estimated how much traffic goes through that domain. right? They've estimated they've analyzed the audience quality that goes through that domain, and they've said, okay, well, this would be a perfect domain for us to own to meet a certain agenda, to add to our portfolio to meet a certain
Right.
agenda. What that is, I honestly can't diagnose, but it's a pattern. It's not an isolated incident. There are a lot of domains
Right.
that, are sold for significant amount of money. So I'll just make a jaw drop, especially if you're just thinking the only way to invest in real estate is to buy a physical brick and mortar.
No. I mean, COVID just showed us everything. Like COVID, got all of these store. Well, at least where I am, because I was in the epicenter of the pandemic of COVID. So New York, most of New York is still
Right, New
shut
York.
down. Most of even where I live in New Jersey, no, they're open for now. But I mean, every type of brick and mortar lost money. Of course,
Right.
commercial real estate took a huge hit, and I think it will continue to take a huge hit. So I think, especially if you're going to be in the e-commerce space, I would only do online. Like I've always been an advocate, like always. Like I don't see the point of being in a store anyway. Like I shop online for everything. There, of course, there's a few little setbacks that can happen, and it happened to me. This is why I closed my company. What are some ways people can, or strategies to prevent like fraud that happens online through the
Right.
e-commerce or digital real estate space? Because it just popped in my head, like, why did you shut down your business? I got a crazy chargeback, and I was pregnant, and I was like, oh no, I don't have time for this.
Right.
So what are some ways? And I see now that I've purchased a lot online recently. I see a lot of influencers. They have smart ways of like making people sign for their orders before getting the product. There's a lot of cool things out there. What is some advice you can give a person that would be starting an e-commerce store to prevent fraudulent activities?
Yeah, it's a good question. So online, everything obviously is done with a credit card, right? So that attracts a lot of fraudulent activity, right? There's a lot of development technology-wise that the payment processors have to, detect fraud. One of the perks of actually having a store in Shopify is they actually will tell you this seems like a fraudulent order or this is a high-risk order. So they have some sort of fraud control tool embedded in their ecosystem, right? Companies like Stripe and PayPal, they all do the same. But from a vendor perspective, it's always been a challenge because, the 800-pound gorilla in the room is the chargebacks, where people go out there and say, oh, I never received a product, or, I don't like the course, or whatever the case is, right?
Right.
So the best way to minimize that is to have good customer service. Yeah, you have to have good customer service. There's more to it than just, throwing up a website and, selling something to someone. You have to put the checks and balances and the systems in place where you follow up with people and you communicate with people. If the shipment is running a little late, let them know, right? Because you want to beat them to it before they beat you to it. You want them to know if you stay in touch with people and you communicate with people, you minimize, you don't eliminate. You minimize the odds of them calling a credit card company and saying, I never received what I ordered. Another thing is, you want to also set up your account properly. A lot of people just, the barrier of entry to get online is very easy. As we're having this call, you can create a Shopify store, right? You can
Right.
create an eBay store. You can create an Etsy store. You can create an Amazon store. But an optimized store that doesn't look fraudulent, that meets their status quo or what their expectations of a store is, that's a different situation. So when you start making sales, they might just freeze your account because your store hasn't been properly set up, right?
Right.
So that's one of the perks of actually joining the program like ours, because when we manage stores, we make sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, right? We make sure that we have virtual assistants that actually handle all the customer service and follow up with customers, and that's how you actually generate more sales and build a sustainable brand, right? Having that repeat business and referrals and things like that. So to me, it comes down to just customer service and having that in your overall structure, right? And email is a great way to, to actually express customer service, right? Just a
Right.
simple email like, how was the course? Did you enjoy it? Here's some follow-up content. Giving people that sense of community when you're selling a course is vital.
Right.
So something as simple as saying, you can join our private Facebook group will make people feel like, okay, even if the course wasn't as meet their expectations, they might be able to meet people that are like-minded. And that doesn't really cost anything. Minimize chargebacks. Fraud is a different topic. You can't judge the intentions of the people on the other side. So you want to make sure your website is on a platform that will detect those type of transactions. And Shopify is a great one.
I agree.
Yeah.
So let's say a person has no idea what type of company or shop product they want to sell. Does your company or your course help them target what are the niche products to sell online?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah. So one of the most important pieces is selling a winning product. So we work with several vendors in the beauty space, for example, where we can develop an organic product from scratch, or we can actually source a product that we have the data to show that there's a demand for it, right? So we typically start the process of onboarding a partner by giving them a list of about 50 stores to look at, and whatever resonates with them, we fine tune it to make it their actual store. Once they purchase a domain, we tweak the store and make it live. And then we start running ads and they start generating sales.
Awesome. All right. So for those who don't know, what's the name of your course? How can they get in contact with you and join your program?
Yeah. It's called the Ecommerce Partners. The website is ecommercepartners.online. ecommercepartners.online. I'm always on Instagram at ish, and that's the best way to reach us.
Yep, that's how I found you on Instagram.
So good.
We met by me I think I had a customer service question. And you have great customer service skills. So that's how, we built whatever rapport we did build. So I do see that you are great with customer service, and I'm sure that will resonate with the others that will contact you. And this was great. Thanks for coming on. I'm definitely signing up, and we're going to work on some marketing strategies for me as well. And as you already stated in the course, that will be included as well. So everyone, thank you for joining us today on Journey to DevelopHer Podcast. Thank you, Ish, for being here, and we'll talk soon.